Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, it's time we take another look at fairy charms, which I think might be the best kept secret in the Pokemon trading card game at the moment. Now, to be fair, they're about to get even better again, but right now, these fairy charms really do seem like they're in position to have a huge impact on the format. So if we take Fairy Charm Dragon as an example, they all do roughly the same thing. Fairy Charm Dragon, when attached to a fairy Pokemon, prevents all damage done to that fairy Pokemon by Dragon GX and EX Pokemon. Only EXs and GXs. It doesn't prevent damage from the non-EXs, non-GXs, but it will protect them. Okay, cool. The thing is, we've actually got a whole bunch of these. Now, we've got Fairy Charm Dragon, which will help you against Naganadel for now, but in the very near future, we're going to have Reshiram and Zekrom, and then it's going to be quite a little bit better. See, at the moment, we don't even really want Fairy Charm Dragon because we've got Fairy Charm Ability, which will protect against Naganadel, but will also protect against Mewtwo and Mew, which is pretty big. The other really good ones we've got at the moment are Fairy Charm Lightning, which will protect you against Raichu and Alolan Raichu, as well as Pikachu and Zekrom. That's pretty huge. Incidentally, will also protect you against Dedenne if your opponent tries to get a little bit cute and attack with them, but it's not the main reason for this. And we've got Fairy Charm UB, which protects you against Ultra Beasts like Blacephalon, and the aforementioned Naganadel. Yeah, poor Naganadel is, he's getting blocked by Fairy Charm Ability, Fairy Charm UB, and Fairy Charm Dragon. Yeah, as well as being hit for weakness by the fairy Pokemon. That is, shall we say, unfortunate. Now, they're the really good ones at the moment. We've also got Fairy Charm Dragon, Fairy Charm Grass, and Fairy Charm Psychic, as well as Fairy Charm Fighting. But they're just not as good, ladies and gentlemen. Fairy Charm Psychic is good for Mewtwo and Mew, but you're better off with Fairy Charm Ability because it blocks more Pokemon. The thing to remember is we're only looking at essentially what's legal now. There will be plenty more GXs in the future. Probably not EXs, but there'll be plenty more GXs in the future. And let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that there's every possibility that your metagame might look slightly different on a local level, so you can play around with the exact ones that you need. Now, the other thing to bear in mind here is just a little bit of a side note. Do remember we have Adventure Bag at the moment, which will help you search out the perfect fairy charm you need. And as another little side note, and I did talk about this in a video recently, if you have a look at the Tapu Lele from Lost Thunder, when you attach a fairy charm, you automatically confuse your opponent's active Pokemon. And we do have the Magearna from Lost Thunder, no, Ultra Prism, which allows you to pick up your Pokemon tools, or at least one per turn, so you can very much chain that confusion, get your opponent's active Pokemon confused every single turn. And we did see a Slurpuff deck yesterday, I'll link it in the description, that used exactly that to take advantage. So that's what the Fairy Charms are and what the Fairy Charms do, but why is now the time to use them? And the answer is, how are you getting rid of them? Now, as it stands at the moment, there are two ways to get rid of tools, really. We've got Faber. Well, okay, but no one's playing Faber. And Faber will actually lost zone the tools, but once again, for the people in the back, nobody's playing Faber. So essentially, we're left with Lysander Labs. And Lysander Labs is a great card, which basically turns off your opponent's tools. So you've still got the fairy charms attached, but they don't actually do anything. But if we take, let's say, this weekend Sheffield Regional Championships, the last big regional that we had in the world, we can see that Lysander Labs just isn't making a big deal at the moment. Now, the winner was David Ferreira with Gardevoir and Sylveon, ironically the one deck at the moment that does use fairy charms. But they're not playing this. Incidentally, they don't need to, because there is no Fairy Charm Fairy. would be kind of cool, but we don't have one. They're using Power Plant, because Power Plant turns off things like Mewtwo and Mew and Naganadel and Dedenne, etc., so it's not particularly needed. I mean, if we have a look at Reshiram and Charizard decks at the moment, they haven't got room to play Lysander Labs. They're playing one Heat Factory Prism Star because they need that to get a bit of draw power. Discard a fire energy from your hand, draw 3 cards. But they're also going to be playing Giant Half to search out their fire energy. So Reshiram and Charizard decks just aren't going to be playing this. The one deck that did play a fair amount of them, and still does a little bit, is Pikachu and Zekrom. If we look at Logan Madden's second place list, and as a side note, huge congratulations to Madden. Lovely dude, only recently aged up into Masters and getting second in a regional. That is ridiculous. He did play Lysander Labs. Now, he also played Thunder Mountain Prism Star because, well, it's a lightning deck, why would you not? But even then, we're talking 2 Lysander Labs. So if you can play a whopping 3 Fairy Charm Lightning, or play 2 but make sure 1 Lysander Labs gets gotten rid of without actually turning off one of your things, you'll be fine. And you'll be alright here. You can play around it. It's more awkward, but it can be played around. The other big decks we see around at the moment are things like Blacephalon, which is an Ultra Beast deck, so it tends to use Ultra Space. And then we see things like Malamar, which generally want to be playing Viridian Forest to both discard energy to accelerate with Malamar, and also to search out that energy. Especially if they're playing stuff like Ultra Necrozma and very little metal energy, they're going to need it to actually make sure that they can get that metal energy on the turn that they need it. So it's only really Pikachu and Zekrom that are playing Lysander Labs. Now, I have heard rumours that some of these Pikachu and Zekrom decks are actually going away from this. I mean, if we have a look at the 38th place list in Sheffield Regionals, Philip Hombach, he actually played 1 Thunder Mountain and 1 Power Plant and didn't play Lysander Labs. Now, both the decks in top 8 with Pikachu and Zekrom did, and that does still, for the moment, seem to be the number 1 stadium in that build. But I'm saying that there are some people here that are starting to go away from it in Pikachu and Zekrom lists, which are seeing success and seeing play. That's pretty cool, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty gosh darn cool. My biggest issue here is Reshiram and Charizard, because there is no tool for Reshiram and Charizard in terms of a Fairy Charm. It doesn't exist. There is no Fairy Charm that will block Reshiram and Charizard. They're not an Ultra Beast, they don't have an ability, and there is no Fairy Charm Fire. Which means you're not going to be blocking them. Now, in a Mewtwo and Mew list, they also are going to play Reshiram and Charizard, and they're going to play Welder, so you need to be a little bit careful here. But generally speaking, you're going to be alright. I mean, take Gardevoir and Sylveon, for instance. You got 260 HP, so Reshiram and Charizard have to use their GX attack with 6 energy on if they're going to get a 1-hit KO. Otherwise, they're not getting a 1-hit KO anyway, so you're probably going to be okay. Now, littler Pokemon are going to be a little bit more scared of Reshiram and Charizard. Now, obviously, Gardevoir and Sylveon at the moment is the best time to use Fairy Charm, but I'm personally quite a fan of Granbull. I'm not sure how well it can stand up at the moment, but Granbull is one that you need to consider. I showed you a Slurpuff deck the other day, link in the description, that can use them very nicely indeed. And there is an Alolan Ninetales. I'm going to show you a deck with that very shortly, which again, looks like it can be a real force to be reckoned with next format, or at least when it comes out in Cosmic Eclipse, which can also make good use of Fairy Charms. The other thing we really need to look at in terms of these non-GXs is that in Cosmic Eclipse we're going to get Great Catcher. Now, Great Catcher lets you discard 2 cards from your hand, and it's a gusting effect. You can pull a Pokemon off the bench, but only an EX or GX of your opponents. You cannot grab a regular Pokemon using this. Yeah. So, I think this is going to start replacing Custom Catcher in a lot of decks. We don't know until it comes out, but I think it's probably a fair assumption to make. So now, you're going to be able to just leave a Pokemon in the active with Fairy Charm ability, and against something like a Mewtwo and Mew, they just cannot attack with Mewtwo and Mew. They physically can't, because they're not going to be playing any gusting options, they're not going to be playing anything to turn it off, and they cannot attack you. It's also going to have the lovely effect that you can play something like a Frostlass, and your opponent cannot gust it up before it's ready, because they're not playing any appropriate gusting, so you can just leave it there, so Mewtwo and Mew is blocked by Fairy Charm ability, Reshiram and Charizard can come up and get a KO, but then they're going to be knocked out by Frostlass. Obviously, if Custom Catcher stays around, this isn't going to be quite so relevant, but the fact of the matter is, the format at the moment is hugely geared towards GXs, and in that situation, Great Catcher is just better. It is one card rather than having two at the same time. I'm not saying Fairy Charms are a perfect guaranteed win, but I am saying that we have a bunch of Fairy Charms that work against some of the best decks in the format. I am saying that we do not have great ways to get rid of them at the moment. I am saying that come Cosmic Eclipse, the gusting is very likely to be inappropriate for non-GXs, i.e. they just won't be able to gust them up. And under those circumstances, you can play something like Granbull, or you can play something like Alolan Ninetales, and your opponent cannot attack through the Fairy Charm, they can't gust around it, and you've just got a huge advantage. And look, Gardevoir and Sylveon just won the first big regional of the season, and you know they were playing Fairy Charms. I think this is something we need to be paying a little bit more attention to, and that's why I made this video, but I would very much like to know what you think about the whole Fairy Charm thing, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.